Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including more leaks of some future vehicles coming from Tesla very soon, Tesla sending out first Robotaxi invites, production paused at Tesla's factory, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, Tesla is always pushing new software updates, and as such we see a lot of new features come, and then hints at others. We've recently seen a lot of details about Grok getting built into future versions of software, but in the latest Tesla software, version 4.46.0 for the Tesla app specifically, we're seeing more Robotaxi related code. Specifically, Rides will be the name of the Robotaxi section in the Tesla app. So it looks like this will be all dedicated within the Tesla app, at least for now. It will be a ride section instead of a separated Robotaxi app, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up changing that long term. However, this may be a good way to get people to get the app as a whole, so it kind of advertises their products at the same time, since you'll be riding in a Model Y, at least for now. But at the same time, there's also references to Alicorn, which is the code name for the Cybercab, and then you can see location type and pickup address fields added into the app. On top of that, there's new assets for the updated Model S and X, including those updated wheels and paint colors, new assets for the Powerwall, wall connector, and more, a redesigned vehicle charging page, the ability to remove or transfer location for Tesla energy systems, and then a mysterious 2 weeks string found. This is in reference to an ongoing joke where Elon Musk says a feature or a software update from Tesla is 2 weeks away. In the past, he would say this seriously, but then it would always be another 2 weeks, and now it has kind of become a running joke. So this definitely seems like it's in reference to a future product that has been coming for quite some time, and maybe that is unsupervised FSD. So those things are coming in the Tesla app, but one part about Tesla that many don't fully consider is how American-made their vehicles are. Every year, Cars.com does their Most American-Made Vehicle Index, and this year, Tesla came out on top yet again. Cars.com says, for car shoppers who want to buy an American-made vehicle, Cars.com's American-Made Index analyzes 5 major factors to determine just how American your prospective car or truck might be. Some 400 vehicles from the 2025 model year were studied to arrive at the 99 vehicles on the 2025 American-Made Index. Here we can see that things have shifted around a little for Tesla because the Tesla Model 3 is now the #1 most American-made vehicle in the world. Previously, this was the Tesla Model Y. But of course, Tesla keeps the top 4 slots here. The Tesla Model 3 is in first place, the Model Y is in second, the Model S is in third, and then the Model X is in fourth. So they absolutely dominate this list with their vehicle offerings. From there, we can see cars from Jeep, Kia, Honda, Volkswagen, Acura, Toyota, Chevy, and more. And it really shows you how far down the list some of the most traditionally thought to be most American-made vehicles are. Many of these cars source their parts from other markets or are assembled in other markets, so it's very interesting to see Tesla consistently topping this list. I'd also be curious to see why the Model 3 is taking over the latest version of the Model Y in this list. Next up today, it's officially June, and we're approaching June 22nd, which is supposed to be the first launch of Tesla's Robotaxi service. As we look at the future of Tesla and their overall business, this is really where their focus is headed, because they've pivoted a lot of plans for these cheaper vehicles that would actually be dedicated to driving, and they've pivoted over to things like the Robotaxi that is a dedicated car without a steering wheel or pedals, and they've pivoted to giving us cheaper versions of the Model 3 or Y, as far as we can tell. So this is a pretty big deal for Tesla that this launch is coming up. And we've seen them prepping for this in a number of ways. First, over at Tesla's factory, we continue seeing their vehicles roll off of the assembly line and then drive across the lot. It's a pretty long drive, and you can see the consistency of how these cars are driving within those lanes right here, because the tire marks are starting to stack up on the roads that these cars are taking all the time. Tesla has cars driving without people in them all the time around their factory. And yes, this is a smaller, predetermined route that is geofenced, but it does have to actually think as it goes along this route because it encounters other cars. Over on X, a Tesla employee confirmed that he's excited for the Robotaxi launch this month and said, driverless cars have been operating in our factories for over 2 months. Important to note that we are not using a dedicated lane for these cars. Trucks are coming with supplies and people are coming in and out of the factory all day. That was good news already for this launch actually going as planned in a couple days here. And then people have still been spotting these cars out in the wild. They're definitely new Model Ys labeled as Robotaxis driving around Austin, and multiple people have been spotting them, followed by Tesla chase cars. So here we can see one, and then here's another one taking a left turn. It's able to read the lights, do everything we're used to seeing with full self-driving. It's just that there's nobody actually in the driver's seat of this vehicle. Then at the same time, people were able to get a close-up of what the UI actually looks like inside this car because they ended up stopped next to one of these robotaxis operating. And it's interesting to see because it looks like we can see a pull-over button as well as an emergency stop button for the person that is riding in the passenger seat. It seems that that will be what Tesla's safety driver approach is going to be at launch, and we'll get into that in just a second. While Tesla is in the process of launching this though, Texas automakers have asked them to delay this launch. A group of Texas lawmakers sent a letter to Tesla urging the company to delay its robotaxi operations in Austin until September 1st, when a revised autonomous vehicle operations framework goes into effect. Basically, under this new framework, things like robotaxis have to receive prior authorization from the DMV before operating on public streets without a human driver. It seems that Tesla is going to push through and not delay anything, because especially over in Austin, there is a decent amount of competition in this space already. When we look at the full list of vehicles that are operating autonomously in Austin specifically, we can see there are Waymos, which are Jaguar I-Pace vehicles. There are Zoox vehicles, Toyota Highlanders converted for that. There's supposed to be this Zoox dedicated robotaxi in the future. Then there's the VW ADMT, which is a version of the ID Buzz, AV Ride with the Hyundai Ioniq, and then of course Tesla with the Model Y, and here we can see it on that graphic labeled as the robotaxi version of it. Of course, the big thing that stands out here is it looks like a pretty regular Model Y compared to all the rest of the vehicles definitely have these sensors tacked onto them. But some good news for Tesla's timeline here, they are officially sending out first invites for robotaxi rides to a few exclusive people. One of the main ones, of course, was Sawyer Merritt, who said, "Breaking, I have been invited to ride in Tesla's Model Y robotaxis on day one this Sunday in Austin, Texas. It's go time, baby." Their invite specifically says the future is now. You're invited to early access of Tesla's robotaxi service in Austin, Texas. As an early access rider, you can be among the first to use our new Robotaxi app and experience an autonomous ride within our geofenced area in Austin. Through this exclusive preview, you'll have the opportunity to provide feedback on our robotaxi service. So this is something I've talked about for quite some time that people didn't seem to totally understand, at least until fairly recently. And that was the fact that Tesla could and probably would launch this service in a geofenced manner. Of course, the long-term vision of Tesla's approach here is that this will be able to drive anywhere, and that really will be what's most impressive and what overtakes the competition in a major way. But for initial launch to prove out this concept and show that they can drive without another human in the car, a geofenced area will be required, and that's what they're doing here. We can also see the parameters that Tesla has involved here, and it's interesting to see how much time this car will be operating, between what hours, and then the fact that there will be still a Tesla employee in the passenger seat. This is starting on June 22nd in Austin, Texas, only for early access invitations, and the parameters are that you must read through and agree to the attached terms and service, rider rules, robotaxi rider policy notice, and service animal policy. You must have a credit or debit card on file, and you can request a ride in the app to and from anywhere in the geofenced area, which excludes any airport. You can do so between 6 a.m. and 12 a.m. midnight every day of the week, and these operational hours, they say already, are subject to change. A map of the geofenced area will be clearly available in the app. One funny thing here, and something that has been a big question with Tesla's approach with just using cameras long term, is inclement weather. And to that they actually say, note that service may be limited or unavailable in the event of inclement weather. So hopefully this is one of those cautious initial beta launch things, but long term they're going to need to be able to solve this issue if they want to operate in all markets. Only the invitee can download and use the app to hail the robotaxi, but they are allowed to bring one guest with them. Then they say to be courteous and that you can take photos and videos of the experience. So soon here, in just a couple of days, we're going to see a lot of videos coming from people like him and the others that have been invited so far. I know Kim Jowua has been invited, Dirty Tesla has been invited, and I'm sure they will be sending out even more invites. I'd of course love to be invited and go check out this experience, but we'll have to see who all they invite to be a part of this. As for the in-cabin camera, many have assumed that this would always be active for robotaxis, and that Tesla really put this there for robotaxis. Today, with full self-driving, this is what monitors your attention, that you are paying attention while supervising this system. But Tesla says here, for the robotaxi, during an active robotaxi ride, cabin camera is not used unless you initiate a request for support or operator assistance is required in case of an emergency. On top of that, they say your conversations are private. Sound detection uses the microphone to transmit audio only when you initiate a request to speak with support or when necessary to provide help in case of a safety event, just like 911 or other emergency services. An orange indicator is displayed on the touchscreen menu bar when the microphone is being used. As for ride charges, it will be in the Robotaxi app in US dollars and may include tolls, airport fees, regulatory charges, and similar costs in connection with the ride. One big thing to note here that I think a lot of people will be focused on initially is that, yes, this is unsupervised self-driving, but there will be a Tesla employee in the passenger seat, I guess somewhat supervising, right? Tesla says while the early access phase is invitation only, you are permitted to bring up to one additional guest so long as they are 18 plus and you remain present with them for the duration of the ride. A Tesla safety monitor sitting in the front right passenger seat will accompany you on your trip. Overall, I think this is a step that makes a lot of sense when you look at the safety of a system like this and the fact that you want to roll it out extremely well without any issue. But, of course, this is supposed to be unsupervised self-driving with nobody in the front seats. Yes, there will be nobody driving the car, but again, this kind of seems a little bit like they're moving the goalpost. Yes, they could achieve this very quickly here with getting rid of that employee, but I almost wonder why they're doing early access with the Tesla safety monitor instead of just waiting a little longer to give us early access with nobody in the front seats. I think that that would be more impressive to the general public. Instead, this gives them a lot of room for a lot of headlines and a lot of criticism for people saying, well, their self-driving system launched with a backup driver. In any case, the big thing for the Robotaxi network is, of course, how quickly this thing can scale, and the fact that it costs Tesla a lot less to deploy this. If all goes according to plan, Bloomberg has some pretty bold estimates for what this could become. A Bloomberg analysis first finds that Tesla's full self-driving is roughly 7 times cheaper and 7 times safer than Waymo's system. This is based on a few different data sets, so it's not entirely perfect, and this will change going into the future, but it's very interesting to look at. Tesla's FSD, of course, logs only 0.15 crashes per million miles, compared to Waymo, which is at 1.16, so that's where they're getting this number of 7 times safer. Tesla has attributed this to their camera vision-focused approach. Then when we look at cost, a Model Y equipped with Tesla's standard FSD hardware costs about 1/7 of a Waymo vehicle, retrofitted with these high-end sensors. And then of course, Tesla's huge advantage here is their fleet collecting billions of miles of driving data on their self-driving system. Tesla's fleet has accumulated 3 billion miles of driving data on full self-driving, which is 135 times larger than Waymo's data set at 22 million miles. In order for Waymo to grow that number, yes, they're doing a lot of rides every day, but it's going to take them a lot longer than it will for Tesla, and Tesla will just keep growing that number. When comparing unsupervised robotaxi miles, though, specifically, that will be very interesting to see how long it takes Tesla. Because yes, all of their cars are out there in the fleet collecting data on supervised FSD, but when it comes to a dedicated robotaxi, how long will it take for Tesla to surpass Waymo's miles specifically? Then, of course, Tesla's big advantage here comes with production of their vehicles. Bloomberg estimates that mass-produced FSD-capable vehicles will be at around 35,000 by the end of 2025, versus Waymo's planned fleet is about 2,500. So again, if Tesla can achieve what they're going for here, they can scale up very quickly with the vehicles themselves and then surpass Waymo's unsupervised FSD data. Tesla has a lot of the pieces in place here, and we'll see how this early access rollout goes. I'm very curious to see what happens for these people's rides, but most likely it will be actually fairly boring. They'll probably get in a Model Y, watch it do what they tend to watch every day with full self-driving, except there won't be anyone in the front seat. Kind of similar to what we saw with the We Robot event over at Warner Bros. Studios. However, there will still be a Tesla safety driver in the passenger seat, and I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? Is that kind of negating this whole thing where it's supposed to be unsupervised, or does it make sense at this initial stage for the Robotaxi launch? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Next up today, while many people are excited about the Robotaxi launch for Tesla, many other people are excited to see what future cars they are actually going to be releasing here. They have communicated clearly that more affordable vehicles are coming very soon from them, and these would be more affordable versions of the Model Y and 3, or maybe something different. But first, the rear-wheel drive version of the Cybertruck that they just announced a few weeks ago is now officially launching. One was spotted out in the wild, and you can tell because it has the soft tonneau cover built into it. It still very much functions and covers up that bed, but is not at all that hard rolling tonneau cover that people are used to. And then we can tell as well when you look at the wheels. These are the much smaller wheels for the rear-wheel drive Cybertruck exclusively. Overall, this car has a number of downgrades, so for certain people this is a pretty big disappointment, but it is the longest range version of the Cybertruck at the same time, which is always interesting to see when they go rear-wheel drive on the cheapest version of their vehicles. Now the Cybertruck of course qualifies for certain things like the federal EV tax credit, especially if you get that rear-wheel drive version, or you get the long-range version in its base form. But there are other credits available depending on your state, and then Tesla has various discounts available as well. In Colorado, however, they're a very EV-friendly state, and it has recently been announced that Colorado residents can take an additional $3,850 off of a new Cybertruck with innovative motor and truck credit. So yes, you can stack this to get a Cybertruck long range for about $58,640 if you include the $7,500 EV tax credit from the federal government that's still available today. That's a good discount to get for a specific market, but this rear-wheel drive Cybertruck is interestingly seeming to launch around the same time that Tesla is doing a production pause at their Giga Texas factory. Reports say that Tesla is halting production of the Model Y and Cybertruck from June 30th to July 4th, officially for maintenance and upgrades. This is very interesting to see because this is the third shutdown at this factory in 12 months. So many believe that this shutdown is more than just routine upkeep and definitely could be them retooling things for new vehicles. I wouldn't be surprised if there's multiple things going on here. Yes, some retooling and fixing for the Cybertruck line, but maybe it just also makes sense for them to pause that line right now since demand isn't super high, but they can also do it under the guise of whatever they're fixing for the Model Y. And for the Model Y, they're probably actually going to be making a cheaper version, and they're retooling for that. That's of course just a theory, and they could be doing both of these things at the same time. A one-week shutdown, though, usually involves installing things like new robotic mounting, rerouting utilities, or doing partial line trials, but it can't actually be a full overhaul for an entirely new product, so this has to be fairly simple if it's only about a one-week pause or less. In any case, this is probably our strongest indication yet of what is to come from Tesla, and that there are these new vehicles on the way very soon. Of course, we expect a more affordable model, which has been delayed from early 2025 and should be coming quite soon. But there have also been a lot more indications recently of a 6-seater Model Y coming in the near future. Originally, months ago, this was rumored to only be coming out of China, but now it seems like, as leaked in Tesla code, it could be coming to all markets. This would be a 6-seater because it would actually be a 3-row functional SUV, where that third row truly works well, and the middle is kind of a pass-through in the second row. So 2 seats per row with a longer wheelbase to actually make that third row usable in a larger version of the Model Y. I think that car would be quite popular in the United States, as well as whatever cheaper version they can do. A lot of people are hoping for a cheaper version of the Model Y that is actually smaller, and we seem to be getting hints of that as well at Tesla's Fremont factory. More drone photos and videos caught this Tesla prototype driving around Tesla's Fremont factory. And yes, it appears to basically be a Model Y, but there are some details we can't quite make out that make this very interesting. First, this car doesn't appear to have door handles, or they are wrapped in the same color as the paint for whatever reason. That's definitely a weird move because all Teslas have the same door handles and all versions of the Model Y we expect to keep pretty much the same. So for some reason, there's a change that they're testing out here with this Model Y that is also covered up in the front and the rear. So there are changes to the front and the rear from the current version. There is a difference in the door handles, and it's actually kind of hard to tell the overall size and the lines of this car, so a lot of people think that this is a shorter version of the Model Y, something like a dedicated 5-seater version with definitely no room for a third row, but it allows that car to get smaller, become more efficient, and then come down in price. Either way, Tesla is about to shut down production at Giga Texas, but it really does seem like this one could be twofold. Yes, they may be just doing a pause in general, but they're most likely retooling things for some new variations of cars, especially variations of the Model Y. We'll see which comes first, a cheaper version, maybe a shorter version, or a longer wheelbase 6-seater version of the Model Y. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see my top Tesla road trip and range tips, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.